Hi everyone. Ha, funny. I said hi like I'm doing a Facebook Live video, which I'm not because frankly, I don't like them. They kind of terrify me. But I just felt compelled to do this video on masks, on face masks, because I see so much debate on social media about face masks. Um, and so I wanted to weigh in. Because you know what? I've been watching too much Tiger King, and if Joe Exotic and every other person on that show can have their own broadcast, their own little television station from their home, why shouldn't I? Maybe I'll buy a green screen. We'll see. Anyway, word on the street is that the CDC is going to soon recommend that everyone wear masks when leaving the house. And as you can see, the media is already slowly pushing this narrative. They've been, I think, for the past couple days talking about, oh, do masks help? Should we all be wearing masks? Which some of you may recall that since February, the end of February, they've been claiming, lying, that masks don't stop the spread and that people don't need to necessarily wear masks. And I just feel like, you know what? This is late stage capitalism, people. We are in a dog eat dog world. You cannot trust the media. You cannot trust the government. You cannot trust anybody. Oh, that sounds very negative. I'll walk that back a little bit. You have to keep your own counsel at all times because times are wild out here. And just because the media tells you something, just because the government officials tell you something, doesn't mean you necessarily should believe them. So I'm going to tell you that my family and I have been wearing masks once leaving the house since probably mid-March. And I remember very distinctly my mom and I watching TV together, and some talking head comes on and talks about how you don't need to wear masks. And this was early March. And that they aren't necessary. And we both looked at each other and almost simultaneously were like, oh my gosh, I guess we need masks. Like, as soon as it came out their mouth that we didn't need masks, we instinctually knew, of course we need masks. How many, like, what masks do we already have in the house? Should we buy masks? What's going on with masks? Now, pretty quickly after realizing that we need, if they say don't need masks, we obviously do need masks. I'm doing a video! It's okay. That sounded crazy. It sounds like I talk to my mom crazy. Believe me, I don't, because she's crazy. Anyway, what was I talking about, these masks? I have to edit this out if I'm not going to be a lazy bum and can edit it out. Shoot, something about masks. Oh, okay, so we very quickly realized that the reason why they were telling us not to get masks is probably we didn't have enough masks in this country, and that people who are going to be on the front lines were going to need these masks. So then that kind of stirred up this whole internal debate with us, like, okay, it's more important for the doctors and nurses to have masks, like, what should we do? Should we not worry about masks? And it's like, well, we already have masks. Like, we've got masks. And also, even if we didn't have masks, I'm not getting my mask from a medical supply company. I'm getting my mask from like Home Depot or something. So what would have been better is if the media would have trusted everybody and told the truth, saying, listen, there's a huge shortage of masks. We are in no way prepared. And we are asking people not to wear or not to buy these N95 masks. But if you have, cloth masks, this mask, or whatever mask you have, it might be a good time to think about wearing them. And then also what these corporations could have done, but of course, late stage capitalism, that's not going to happen. People like Home Depot, Target, wherever you can get these N95 masks, could have pulled them from the shelves so that people couldn't buy them to have them for the first responders. But of course, this is late stage capitalism. So that's not going to happen. So am I not going to buy a mask when I can see them on the shelf because a nurse might not have them when the nurse isn't going to get them from there anyway? Everybody's got to make their own tough decisions about that. Secondly, then we had the thought, oh shoot, we do have a small personal supply of these things that we just have on hand. Should we give them up? Should we donate them? And it was a lot of debating in our family because it's like, okay, well, we've got like a box and a half, an open box, like we were going to donate 20 masks and think that makes a difference. And I was of the mind that, okay, listen, if many people across the country are sitting on 10 or 15 masks, then that could add up to a lot of masks. But then my mom pointed out, when she's right, she's immune compromised. So when people are walking around with masks, don't judge. This is too long already, damn it. Okay, I'm back, and I'm just going to string these videos together. I was going to start all over and try to tighten it up, but I just don't have the patience. And besides, Joe Exotic has like an hour-long broadcast every day. He's now my touch point and my reference. So continuing on, mask. Don't be judgy about people walking around with masks when you weren't walking around with masks because you don't know about their life. They could have comorbidities. They could be immunocompromised. They could instinctually know that the media was lying to us and that we should all be wearing masks. So don't judge them. Moving on. I actually feel like I should write a script about this. Okay, now we're going to talk about the media and why I think it's really important for media to understand, for people to understand that while it might not be as bad as Russia or North Korea or authoritarian places like that, we do not get real good, accurate information in this country. I consider myself a media expert. I have a communications degree. I've been trained in this. I am a media junkie. I spend my time like reading everything. I've worked in media. So I don't trust the media. I know how they work. It's kind of like people who eat at, like, you know, they work at a restaurant and then they never eat at that restaurant because they've seen how the sausage is made. So they're like, yeah, no, I'll pass. That's how I feel about the media. I have a natural distrust of the media because of what I've seen. And to be fair to other people, like, I don't have a husband, I don't have a mortgage, I don't have kids to worry about. So I can spend all my time scouring the internet and looking at the media and trying to piece things together. Most people don't have time for this. You guys have like lives and stuff, and you shouldn't have to worry about this. You should be able to trust the media, but I'm sorry, you just shouldn't. But what you can trust and what you do have is you have a natural, divinely imbued sense of intuition. And this is the time to cultivate it and the time to use it and the time to trust it. So if something doesn't sit right with you that you hear from the media or a politician or anyone, then I would say listen to that. Listen to that voice, because you just can't trust these experts. So let's even talk about other experts that you can't trust. I'm looking at you, World Health Organization. Now, one of the reasons why I started taking this COVID stuff seriously is because I was reading the WHO reports. So it's not like I think, oh, you shouldn't. When I say don't trust these people or these so-called experts, it doesn't mean like you shouldn't listen to them, that you shouldn't take their counsel. It means you just shouldn't blindly follow and agree with everything that they're putting out there, because they are fallible. Yes, these government agencies are often fallible. So let me read what the WHO was still putting out on March 28th. So on March 28th, they were still saying, they said, fact check, COVID-19 is not airborne. The virus that causes COVID-19 is mainly transmitted through droplets generated when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or speaks. These droplets are too heavy to hang in the air. They quickly fall on floors and surfaces. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you are within 1 meter of a person who has COVID-19, or by touching contaminated surfaces, and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth before washing your hands. Blah, blah, blah. And then they say COVID-19, then they show that like a post that says COVID-19 is confirmed as airborne, and they say that it's inaccurate. And then it says this message is spreading on social media is incorrect. Help stop misinformation. Verify the facts before spreading. Okay, WHO? That's them on March 28th. Well, according to researchers at MIT, that viral droplets expelled, so, via coughing or sneezing, can travel up to 30 meters per second. And it says it can create a cloud that can span approximately 7 to 8 meters. Now, I've seen some weird stuff from the WHO, and I don't know if they were referencing this study, but they said, like, oh, in certain lab conditions, yes, this can happen, but that's not real-world conditions. Okay, that may be fair. I don't know what study they're referencing, but I believe the researchers at MIT who have shown that a sneeze can travel that far. So that means that staying only 6 inches away is not sufficient. And that also means that when you're outside, it can hang in the air. And they have found, these researchers found that it can hang in the air for hours if it's moving along airflow patterns caused by ventilation or climate control systems. So heat or air, or heat or air conditioning, which we all have. I mean, I guess, no, it's April. So the people in the South probably have the air on, and us in other climates, we've still got our heat and air doing what it do. So yeah, this thing can be just wandering around. That's why you should have a mask on. The other thing is they've got these cute little images that say, like, when do you use a mask? And it says, healthy people only wear a mask if you are taking care of a person who is suspected of an infection or if you are coughing or sneezing. So they are saying that they've been pushing this narrative that you don't need to wear a mask unless you yourself are sick or you are taking care of someone sick. Why is this virus so dangerous? What do we know about it? The reason why it's so dangerous is because people pass it along to other people even when they don't show symptoms. So they call that either you're asymptomatic and you're transferring it, or you're pre-symptomatic, meaning you don't show any symptoms, but you're eventually going to come down with it. So they know this is why this thing is so dangerous and is so contagious, because people are walking around carrying it and transmitting it without even knowing they have it. So if most of us are probably going to get it at some point, and many of us aren't going to show symptoms, then it completely debunks their theory of, like, no one needs to wear it unless you're coughing and sick. No one needs to wear it unless they're not breathing. People who breathe should be wearing a mask when they leave their house. So there's a good way to decide if you need a mask. Are you alive? Are you breathing? You need to be wearing a mask when you leave your house. Okay. Now this is the real reason why, besides the fact that there just weren't enough masks, that they aren't telling people to wear a mask, is because they go on to say masks are effective only when used in combination with frequent hand cleaning with alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. They're really afraid that we're all idiots and that by wearing a mask, you'll suddenly think that you don't have to do all the other things, like wash your hands, stay in your house, be careful, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they think we're not that smart. And so they don't want to give us a false sense of security, as if we're children, as if we're infants. And so then decided not to put out the information about wearing a mask. Where people in Asia thinks we're nuts. They have a culture of wearing masks. One of the reasons why the Asian countries were able to put, to quickly rein it in. Wow, that might have been an oversell, quickly rein it in. But it's because they have a culture of wearing masks. And they think it's important to wear a mask because it is important to wear a mask. So then, let's say you are like, well, I don't, now that all the N95 masks are gone, what's the point? Because viruses are so small, unless you have a N95 mask, your little surgical mask or cloth mask is not going to be sufficient. Okay, so you're right. Viruses are microscopic. If you have a surgical mask or a cloth mask, it's not going to provide the same amount of protection, but you should still wear them. Because providing a physical barrier, helps not as many germs get through, and it also reminds you not to touch your face. So there's something called low inoculum, meaning if you get a few virus particles into your system, it's much better than having a large contamination load, because a low viral load is associated with a much better and slower progression of the virus. I'm sorry, I'm getting. Okay, Lord, I'm back. Sorry about that. Anyway, low inoculum rate. So if you provide a physical barrier, hey, some of the virus is going to get through. I'm sorry. If you're in a surgical mask or your little silk mask or something like that, yeah, it's not going to be as effective as these N95s. But it will still provide some sort of barrier that can stop the disease progression. Because if you get small amounts of the virus into your nasal passage, into your mouth, then your body has hours and even days to mount an aggressive defense. If you get a ton of the virus, it's quickly, you know how quickly they replicate. Now you're infected and overrun much more quickly than if you got only a few droplets. I mean, I guess it's the difference between, I'm one of these weirdos who eats like their apple down in the core. So like if I crunch in a few apples, why am I talking about apples? If I'm eating a few apple seeds, then that has a little bit of arsenic. I'm not about to die of arsenic poisoning. If I grind up 1,000 apple seeds and cook them in an apple pie and feed it to my husband, he might not make it because of all the arsenic. So this is not a very scientific explanation now, but we're just going to go with it. That's the difference between a large viral load and a small load. So even just a plain fabric mask will be helpful to that. And it will remind you not to touch your face. So that's the reason why everybody should be wearing a mask when they leave the house. That's also the reason why we should not trust everything the media says. We should not trust everything experts say. It's not because they're trying to kill us. It's just because they have their own agenda and their own things preventing them from fully telling us the truth. And what we should do is we should trust ourselves, and we should keep our own counsel, and we should cultivate our intuition, and we should listen to it. And that's all I got about this. I hope you guys are having a good pandemic time. I mean, I'm not. I hope someone is. And I hope you get your mask or make a mask. I know some people have been making them, which is wonderful. I think that's awesome. Okay, have a good day. Bye.